The former head of Ofsted thinks teachers should criticise bad parenting. Sir Michael Wilshaw, a former head teacher, wants teachers to challenge unsupportive and aggressive parents. But do teachers have a duty to intervene, or should parents be free to discipline their kids with or without criticism or judgment? Before we get to the panel's thoughts on this, take a look at this. So it's parents brawling at an under-10s football match in Sutton Coldfield. Police were called to break up the fight, and as you can see, children were steered way clear of the brawl. Police have launched an investigation, but this is the sort of thing that we're talking about. You would hope that the coaches would have pulled those parents aside and said, could you not do that, please?
Yeah, it's
bare minimum.
I've had very close contact with my school over the recent months because our council has been trying to merge it with another. There's been an overall crash in, I've often talked about this, the birth rate in this country. We talk about poverty hitting all sectors.
You would stop your school being closed down.
Yeah, indeed, because we're not replacing ourselves in Britain. 1.49 children born to every woman in this country of childbearing age. It's the lowest it's been since World War II. So schools are closing. Now, one of the problems with when you have schools that are looking for pupils to stay open, that means those teachers have to be ever more clipboard and family friendly. Hi parents, how are you? A bit like private schools. You know, welcome Mrs. Blobbs. Yes, we love your Tiddles. We'll look after him. When actually, I remember, even me, I can say in the olden days, growing up in the 70s and the 80s in the village that I lived in, the people you respected, the schoolmaster, the doctor and the policeman. That kind of mentality has totally been flipped on its head. And the way in which I think in some instances governors, parent governors, etc., can almost bully or manipulate and parents going up to the office, insisting, using bad language, using emotive language, you know, all for their little diddums. It's like a role reversal where the teachers are often on the back foot. Now, I'm not saying teachers are perfect. I'm not saying that they get everything right, and sometimes some of them are work shy, but on the whole, I tend to think that my teacher knows best about my child.
So if a teacher came to you and said, listen, we don't think you are monitoring the homework close enough, you would take that on board, or you wouldn't be annoyed about it?
Honestly, the uproar in our school because they decided it was easier if they put both gym days on one day. You know, just in terms of practicality, you know, so Tabitha doesn't have to go in her running kit on 2 days a week, just one. Oh my goodness, you'd have thought the end of the world had come, that we were actually stifling potential Olympians with their future pursuit of 100-metre records.
Peter, how do you feel about this? Did you have close contact with your kids' schools?
Oh yeah, very much so. We were involved in it. I got involved in the PA and I loved the
fates. Oh, were you PA? Were you a fundraiser, were you?
The fireworks nights and all that with my ivies on, keeping everybody a safe distance. And took a huge part in our children's schooling. Of course, it's what parents should do. And I have a number of friends who are teachers, and I'm a huge fan of the teaching profession. I think it's the most important job in the world because you churn out future generations. Yep. But it is not a teacher's job. Say, for example, you teach history or maths or whatever it is. It's not their job to turn them into Olympians, to teach them how to tie their shoelaces, to clean their teeth, nor is it a teacher's job to point out to parents that they're pretty rubbish at parenting.
But if they know and they can see the effects on the child, is it not their responsibility as the person in charge of that child's safety for how many hours a day to say to the parent, look, I can see that this is happening at home and this is having this effect at school?
The best thing the school can do is have a firm and consistent discipline policy and standards of behaviour at school, and do not shake from that.
Right. Hold that thought. Again, I can tell Tessa's desperate to get in because we're going to be returning to this after the break and we're going to be taking your calls as well. Do teachers have a duty to tell off bad parents? Paul, do you think this is the place of a teacher?
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
When I was at school, if I got the strap or anything like that, and I went home and told my dad would give me another clip round the ear for getting one at school anyway.
Yep.
Nowadays, I think the kids go home, tell their parents that they don't strap them nowadays. No. And I'm not saying that they should strap them nowadays. I believe that the teachers are scared to chastise a kid because they're scared of that 5% of fathers that will turn up at the school and have it out with the teacher.
But should that stop teachers from being able to be very honest with parents about some of the things they're doing that might be impacting a student's ability to learn? For example, if a teacher knows that a child every day comes into class with a packet of crisps in their hands because that's what they've had for breakfast, is it acceptable for a teacher not to say to those parents, that's an unacceptable breakfast, it does not set the brain up in a way to learn for the rest of the day, and little Timmy needs to get a good breakfast before he comes into my class? Is that not an acceptable thing for a teacher to say, and actually remiss of them not to?
I think maybe it's not acceptable to do that, but maybe a letter going home rather than confronting the parent.
Right, so you've got concerns about safety, but is
a
letter...
just the safety in school.
Would a letter be any better, Peter?
No, in a case like that where you think a child is fundamentally not getting the diet that it needs, then it's a referral to the social services. It's not teachers' job. That's for social workers.
Well, but hold on.
It's a safeguarding issue.
The social workers are already under pressure, and that's putting extra work on social workers, when actually just a quiet word to the parent to say, listen, crisps are actually not good enough.
Well, the type of parent that had that punch-up in the football stand,
well,
you can have a quiet word with one of those type of people. No, teachers are there to teach. They're not social workers.
I think we need to keep it real about the difficulty teachers have on a day-to-day level trying to deal with challenging children, of which there are, and you can look at the statistics, many more post-pandemic disruptors who mean that it's harder for the rest of the class to learn. And I know, because I've seen this firsthand in my cohort, in my friend parent group, it feels incredibly personal when you're told that your child is challenging. You feel like you've been singled out, you've been criticised. Is it because I'm X or Y? Is it, am I being discriminated against?
Yeah, but just because you feel upset doesn't mean it shouldn't happen.
But that is often the response from otherwise totally seemingly normal, rational parents who hold down day jobs, etc., etc. So I think that teachers have a really difficult job, and I would say once more, they are also all at the moment competing for pupils. Because nowadays, unless you live in a really remote part, you go, well, just take Tiddles out and put them in another school. Right. And then you've lost that relationship and you've lost that chance to make an impact on that child's life.
The social services element is interesting because actually I was speaking to a teacher at the weekend, and once a teacher reports an incident, whether it's crisps in the morning, which I don't think would be reported, we're talking more serious incidences, but once something has been reported to the social services then goes round to the parents' house or makes contact with the parents. They will say the school's been in touch because of this incident. So the teacher is already at risk.
And that triggers
knows exactly where they are and what's been said.
And that's wrong. The social services shouldn't be disclosing their sources.
Oh, come on,
I mean, I would probably
what's wrong with that?
Well, it's blatantly obvious, isn't it? If originally the incident occurred in the school. I know, I've had first-hand experience of this. You can tell I've got a 5-year-old and a 15-year-old, can't you? But actually, it's really triggering. Parents feel they've been invaded. Who is this person coming into my space? Who is this social worker? What's he doing here? Oh, I want to leave the school now. Rip it up, rip up the relationship. People take it very personally. We live in a different world. In the 70s and 80s, oh dear, Pat Mitchell, the head teacher, said that you've been very naughty. I had to go and, sit in my room and contemplate my navel. Not now. Totally reverse world.
I definitely think that the culture has changed. It's a really difficult one, actually. I'm not sure what the right answer is, but I'm sure teachers will navigate it as best they can.